All right, thanks to everybody that came out Saturday and braved the weather to support our kids and senior day. Obviously, Coach Foster's last game in Lane Stadium. We sincerely appreciate that. We're looking forward to all the Hokies that make the trip to Charlottesville for our game Friday. And we've got a little bit of a short week here, getting ready for the game at noon. We pushed back practice just a little bit in order to give us a little more time for preparation. We certainly face a daunting challenge with Virginia, playing well in all three phases of the game. Joe Reed on kickoff return has been fantastic this year. Brice Perkins is running and throwing the ball with accuracy and confidence. And defensively, they continue to do a great job mixing up looks and causing problems for other offenses. So our guys certainly understand what's at stake here. We certainly understand the rivalry, and we'll need a great week of preparation as we move forward.
Coach, can you take me through Austin Cannon, his development as a player, and just what you've seen from him kind of emerging this year?
All Austin's ever done is everything we've ever asked him to do. Probably one of the best teammates on the entire team in terms of caring for and helping other people out. A physically strong person, great weight room numbers. Started off getting to contribute a little bit on PAT field goal and then the punt team. And now has found himself in a role playing on the offensive line. Continues to be a very coachable young man in terms of understanding what we're asking him to do, being able to put it out there on the field, and really has made huge strides in his time here.
And he talked about, after his suicide attempt, your role in kind of helping him through what's obviously an incredibly tough time. That's not normally part of a football coach to have something that extreme. What was that like for you, and what kind of role do you think you played at that time?
It was like nothing I've ever been a part of. Scary. I don't know. I don't know what role I played or didn't play other than I just tried to be there for the kid, and I don't know. I guess I'll let Austin talk about it. I'm a little uncomfortable talking about it just because it's a pretty personal thing with Austin. He seems very comfortable talking about it. I just try to do what I would try and do for any one of our players or my own children if they were struggling.
With this week with Brice, how do you kind of simulate what he's able to do with the ball and running? I mean, who do you use kind of as the scout team quarterback? Do you pull like Jaden? Is that somebody you use like there? I mean, how do you guys kind of all work on that in practice?
Well, Braxton is a pretty good athlete, really good athlete actually. So he's been doing a great job all season long. We play Georgia Tech, play those athletic guys, and it's hard to simulate. I mean, the guy makes so many plays. Both designed and improvised, and seems to keep his eyes downfield when he needs to, and then can tuck it and run when he wants to, and is a strong runner. You just watch him film after film against opponent after opponent. Guys just seem to fall off of him as they're trying to get the angle. He does a great job. He cuts back on people all the time. It's very, Braxton will do that job for us to the best of his ability, but I don't know that you can fully simulate how efficient he's been.
And then Tavion didn't finish out the game, and then Trey took that scary hit to the head. How's he doing?
Everybody's doing awesome.
So you expect both to play on Friday?
Great. They're all doing great.
So they'll be on the field then?
Rayshard Ashby won ACC linebacker of the week for the 5th time this week. Kind of unprecedented, I think, around here. Bud has spoken about him like he's just taking complete ownership of this defense. How have you seen his ability to sort of lead that group this year?
He mentioned something the other day about being a GA, and I just grabbed him and said, yes, 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 when you're done playing. Like, he just, like we recognize guys on Sunday after the game, and, you know, we usually put their stats up in a couple plays because I want both sides of the ball to see that kind of stuff. We watch special teams all together. So it's kind of a nice time for guys to see each other and kind of puff their chests up a little bit. And for Ashby, you know, you put all the statistics up there, and at the bottom I just put, and he runs the show. I mean, he just communicates, gets people lined up, has a great understanding of what we're trying to get accomplished, and helps other people play well around him. He just really sharp. He has unique, I guess you could call it vision for a linebacker. I know that's what the term buds use sometimes in terms of you know, in smaller spaces, how to avoid blockers and try and find a way to make tackles. He's just really a unique talent in terms of his vision and his mental understanding of the game.
You guys lead the conference in kickoff coverage, and they lead the conference in kickoff returns, and it's more than just one guy. Reed, Kelly, Millage all have returns of at least 40 yards. What makes them so effective in returning kicks, and who do you consider some of your essential pieces in terms of coverage?
Well, you know, it starts with a great kick. But I think what has separated them in their kickoff return unit is when people have tried to kick the ball all over the place. Meaning most of the time when we go out there, and it's happened a little bit to us this year, but most of the time we know where the ball is going to be kicked. So sometimes people will try and kick it across the field or sky kick it or whatever to kind of mix up your returns. And to me, what they've done is they've hurt people when they've tried to do those things, which is only added to the danger that they have on their return unit. You know, so first of all, for us, it starts with a good kick and kick placement. Winning with speed down the field is paramount. Avoiding with proper leverage is really important, and it's going to take a group effort. It's going to be all 11, not just 10. I mean, the kicker's going to play a role in it too. And Amari Barno's a guy that's been playing the last couple of weeks that has been getting down the field. And there's a bunch of other guys on the unit. You know, we play starters on the unit, and we're going to have it too. They have really helped their team, not just with points, but with field position on that unit.
Travis. Hey, Coach, I guess this is your fourth year sort of being a part of this game, and I'm just curious how it compares maybe to other rivalry games you've been a part of, and is it better when both teams are playing well and having good years?
Well, I did think of that the other day. I do think it's good. It's good, you know, that I mean, there's a lot at stake no matter what. We understand that. But I think it's good for the Commonwealth that teams are having fairly successful years. I mean, you know, the thing about competition and rivalries and all that sort of stuff is, you know, when you're in it, you know, it still comes down to execution, and there's emotion involved, and there's all the things that come with big games, but it still comes down to preparation and execution and being able to focus on doing your job on a consistent basis regardless of the circumstances. So you know, it's as heated and as important a rivalry as there is, and when both teams have had some success, I think it enhances that and you know, makes it for even a better spectacle, I guess.
Last year, leading up to this game, is when you started kind of having some players leave the program. A couple guys entered the transfer portal, ended up being over 10. When you look at kind of how that transpired, was that important to the makeup of this team and how you guys have handled adversity? And, you know, how do you look back on that kind of period and where you guys are at now? Obviously, having won 6 of 7 and everybody's kind of together.
I'm really done with revisiting all that. I mean, we're in the spot we're in. I think it's pretty obvious. You know, you watch our team, I mean, they're a pretty tight group and believe in each other and believe in what we're doing. So, I'm not going to throw the guys that aren't here. I'm not going to say bad things about people that aren't in our program. I'm not going to say anything about people that aren't in our program. The guys that we've got here believe in each other, are working hard every single day, and I think that's been evident by what everybody's seen. So I'm excited to be around them and coach them every single day.
Justin, as Bud's time here kind of comes to a close, as we get closer and closer to that point, have you sensed a change or seen a change in him, or he's the same Bud as earlier this year, same Bud as 2 years ago?
Yeah, I'd say it's the same. I haven't seen anything. If we didn't know that this was his last go around, I don't know that you'd be able to figure it out. Competitive and fiery and working hard.
Why do you think he can do that? Kind of, not think about that.
I think it's important to him. Like he's the kind of person when he signs on to do a job, he goes and does it. And he's signed on to do this job, and he's got a lot of pride in it. He's got a lot invested in it. Cares for our kids, and it's the type of person he is.
They've lost a number of defensive backs on the back end of their unit. Brice Hall being an All-American corner, Brent Nelson being a very good safety. Have you seen them change schematically what they're doing on the back end as they've kind of shuffled new guys in and out?
They have always been multiple, from the BYU days. I mean, they've always done a tremendous amount. So, they kind of are multiple all the time. They've moved some guys around and done a great job with that. So they must do a great job teaching those schemes to their defense, because they've always seemed to be able to adjust or kind of go with the flow or play to their strengths through the many years that we've seen them.
And on the front end, the 3-4, I can't remember how many odd fronts you face in your time here. How does that change things for your line, and how do you think this year's group will handle that?
Well, we've played a couple this year. It's the same deal with the front. With Bronco, they've always been multiple in the front as well. They don't just play 3 down. They slide the front and cover the guards as well. So, which always poses a challenge when you play teams that do different stuff. So, I anticipate we'll put together a plan that we can get guys pointed in the right direction and see how it goes.
All right, thanks, Coach. Coach Foster coming up next.
Such nice things about us if you knew you had to see
I
us
know,
again.
exactly.
What's up, dude?
How we doing? I meant what I said, though, so. But I know this, you guys, how many guys cover basketball, too? Tech basketball. I'm sure you'd probably be right.
Right after this.
Yeah, can I jump on board with you? That'd be awesome right there, so.
But I can't remember if you did this last year, but does Perkins remind you of anybody that you faced before?
I'd say the closest guy maybe reminds me of a little bit of Donovan McNabb, just with his ability, his strength when he runs, his ability to throw on the run, his ability to create plays that aren't there and become a big-time running back. They design quarterback runs like they did with Donovan, back in the day. That's probably who he reminds me the most of. Now, as I say, that's what he's going to be if he has that opportunity to go to the next level. I don't know, but just a college football player, just what he means to their offense is kind of what he reminds me of. Because Donovan was a lot. I mean, they had some great players too, but he's surrounded with some really good players. But it seems like they want Brice. I mean, he's a big part of their offense, and if we can stop him, I feel like then that's who we need to stop to win the game when it's all said and done. Kind of was the same thing with Donovan. If we could stop him, we could win the football game. So that's probably where it kind of reminds me of him in that aspect.
How big of a factor then is containment be?
It's really big. I mean, that's everything they have. It seems like every throw game, it seems like has a designed quarterback run with it. So we're going to have to do an awesome job of keeping him leveraged, keeping rush lanes tight, being able to come off blocks, not get run by people. There's quarterback draws. We've got to do a great job of restricting the running lane and closing the vertical separation between the line and the linebackers. And it presents tremendous challenges, but that's critical for us as far as his ability to create, run, or pass, getting outside the pocket. And I thought for the most part we did a pretty good job of that last year, particularly early in the second half. They hit us on a couple big plays. We've got to eliminate that. But they're playing really, really well, and we're going to have to go up there and play a heck of a football game. But we got to do a great job of keeping him contained.
Because he can innovate and does so much. How hard is that to simulate in practice? Because Justin said Braxton's kind of the scout team and does that and is athletic. But, I mean, do you tell him to kind of move around as much as he can? What do you kind of do?
Yeah, we'll pick
practice?
some times. That's a good point. We will pick some times to have Braxton move around. Now, Braxton is extremely athletic himself. You guys will see that in the quarterback battles as they move forward. But, we'll pick some times that we want him to scramble, create a little scramble drill, so we make sure we match up people, and then we get our people, that need to that need to be secondary contain, or those type of those players that need to do that. We'll close on the ball, and the other guys need to stay in coverage because that's where he can create some things. And but very dangerous, playing very confident. Trust the guys around him, and I mean he's not a one-man show. He runs the show, but he's not a one-man show. They've got the tailback's a really good player. They got multiple receivers. Their tight ends are physical, and I think they're a little better than they were a year ago up front. And so I think they're a much improved football team from the time we played them a year ago. And they were pretty good at the time we played them, but I feel they're much better. Another year older in the offense at some spots, and the quarterback's older one year in a spot, and you see just a guy playing with a lot of confidence and great savvy and instinctive, and all those things you expect from that position.
Hey, Bud, could you describe the locker room 10 minutes before the Virginia game, and maybe and it may vary, I guess, depending on how many Virginia kids you got, but I mean, does it feel any different than another big game? I mean, you guys play a lot of big games.
There are. I mean, over the years, I'm sure it's varied. I mean, you got some guys when we've crossed over, there might be guys that are closer friends or rivals or whatever it may be than there has been. I don't know. I think obviously this game is a big game. When you play Virginia, it's always a big game. But now that since we've joined the ACC, this game becomes more than just a rivalry game. Now you had, this is the third occasion that we're playing each other head-to-head to go to the ACC championship game to win our division. And we've had to win some others for that to happen, but for us to go head-to-head, that's so really the focus is on that as much as it is this rivalry. I mean, obviously, it means a lot as far as bragging rights and recruiting. All those things factor in. But this game now with what's on the line, it has I think it's even brought into a bigger light, so to speak, with a championship kind of on the line too, besides who has state bragging rights. So I think that's really makes it exciting. I think a lot different than what it was, 20 years ago, when we were in the Big East and they were in the ACC. That was just strictly a rivalry game. Now there's so much more, I think, goes into it besides just being a rivalry game.
I know it wasn't a reviewable play in the game, but did you guys submit the Jamari Connor alleged late hit?
We did. Did
you get an answer?
And I think the rules, they felt like it was probably, should have not been called. So
they did respond with that?
Yeah, they did. And we turn things in even if we feel like we made a mistake and they didn't call it or, those type. We're doing it to help the referees. I mean, the game is getting so fast. It's a lot of bang plays. And all you're trying to do, that maybe plays they don't even see, that you're just trying to expose them to and educate them to as well. We're all in this together. We're all in it for the betterment of the game and the safety of the game, too, particularly in that case. But when we do those things, I hope Dennis Hennigan doesn't take that as, I'm sure other teams do it, too. We're not always doing it to complain. We're doing it to, let's just take a look at this. This is, just let's educate our people as much as we can. So we turn in a lot of things from week to week. It's just not things that we want them to watch or we feel like was a bad call. But we did get a response back.
With Rayshard, you've given so many superlatives about him and said a lot of great things about him, which rightfully so. He's had a great season, but do you remember the first time you either laid eyes on him in person in a game or on video and something that stood out about him? Because you guys clearly saw, and a handful of other teams, programs saw something in him that a lot of other people didn't see.
Well, he reminded me, probably the closest guy that I'd had, maybe that he reminded me of was Vince Hall. I think I mentioned that just had an extremely great nose for the ball, extremely instinctive. Didn't waste a lot of steps. If it was a run play, he was right in the middle of it. If it was a pass play, he was right in the middle of it, whether he's rushing the passer or dropping in coverage. It was when I saw him, kind of like Vince, he wasn't the biggest guy or the tallest and the longest guy I've seen, but it was definitely big enough. But I just loved his demeanor, the way he played the game, the passion he played with, how hard he played with. You guys see that he's a physical player. I saw that, but he has continued just to grow and develop and work at it, and that's where, he has taken that next step. As a big-time college football player. I liken him to a coach on the field. He makes so many just communication. He doesn't always have to make the checks. He's just communicating and letting everybody know what's going on, and that's the one thing. He doesn't worry about getting lined up, or he goes plays ball, doesn't work ball. He works for his teammates as far as communicating, but then he goes and plays the ball. He knows what he's looking for in his key reads. He knows how to get lined up. He knows what little things to make make it easier to not stress him in run game or pass game. He can make some little calls that can protect himself a little bit. I mean, that's just where he has elevated his game, mentally from a football IQ standpoint.
It's a bit of a big picture, think about it question, which you might not love, but when things were not going well this season, before you guys got it turned around, before you got to this point, before you had the back-to-back shutouts, did you give any thought to how much it would bother you, stick in your craw to go out on that kind of a note?
I never did, to be honest with you, because we were just kind of how I've been doing it, all my life. And coaching is just going to the next one, because that's all you can control. I mean, obviously, yeah, would I picture this? This is the way I want it? Yeah, and that would be really perfect. We go out and shut out this crew. We get ready to play. That would make it really good. And then go shut out Clemson. Now, that'd be like, there you go. I mean, that'd be like kissing Cinderella, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, I'm just really happy. More than anything, I'm happy for our guys because they have put so much effort into this thing, and it'll be rewarding for me to see them have the success that they put into this thing, because that's what it's all about. And I am proud of them, and I'll look back fondly on particularly this last stretch, and hopefully we can finish up strong. We're going to have to play really, really well like we have these last several weeks. But, I mean, just how these guys have responded and reacted and have found that self-confidence it takes is a big part of it, and I talked about that the other day. But they have finally found that and now are playing that way, and that's the part that's gratifying as a coach, and that's what but I didn't think anything about negative or positive. I was just thinking about, let's go to that next one and let's go be the best we can be, and then everything else will take care of itself. And they're seeing that result right now, of that body of work.
This preseason, you had expectations. I'm sure they weren't meeting them those first 4 weeks. Have they exceeded, though, maybe your expectations where they're at now?
Well, I don't know if they've exceeded. There's now maybe by our totals and what we've done the last 2 weeks of shutting out somebody at this level, which is hard to do. But I felt like we could play at a high level, and early on, it was a combination. You just don't lose it on defense or offense. It was a combination. We turned the ball over. We had some injuries. You had some different things like that. We had a quarterback change. I mean, there's a variety of things that go into this whole process of but the kids really hung in there, and now, like I said, they're starting to play like I thought they could play. And it goes back, though, again, to the consistency in their execution. And like I said, it can be good or bad. You can be consistently bad, too. And we went through a stretch there for a couple of games. And we made a point to really look at plays and things of that nature to see that it's not the scheme, man. It comes down to people and the personnel and how you play and how you fit and doing the little things right. And that's where they took a lot of pride in making sure that they did their job and did it for their brother when it was all said and done.
Coach, just building off those questions, is this one of the biggest midseason turnarounds you've seen during your time?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back. I haven't really thought about it. We've had some years where we won this league at 5-3. But I'm just, like I said, I'm focusing on now. That's really, I'll sit back one time and just go, boy, this year was really special. That year was really special, and there were a lot of those. But this year right now is really special, and I'm just, like I said, I'm proud of how our kids are working, and there's locker rooms are different when you're winning, and you're having fun and you're believing in each other and trusting one another. There's a different kind of chatter. There's a different enthusiasm. And we're hearing that right now, and I want to make sure, though, and I've told them several times that we cannot be satisfied. I mean, that's as good as we have played, and we played statistically outstanding. I mean, I don't know if we can get, you can be better, but we're still scratching the surface completely as as a two deep in our defense to be the best we can be and reach our potential. And that's still what's exciting, you know, and we're counting on some young guys that to play, and they are making plays for us, but they're still scratching the surface of how good they can be. And that's where I think we can continue to get better and grow and improve. And so that's encouraging. It really is. But, you know, this Saturday's another new opportunity, and that's what I'm saying. We can never be satisfied. We got to, what's the past is the past. We can celebrate that for a short moment, and we were back at work yesterday at 8 o'clock. So it was a short night and a short celebration, and knew coming into this week that we were going to have a great week of practice. And that's probably our biggest thing this week is we got to make sure our kids understand that they've got to focus on today and tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday, and to get ready for Saturday. I mean, or Friday. They want to get to Friday right away. But we got to have a great week of preparation and practice before we get to that point. And that's where I think we've gotten better as a football team and as a defense.
Last one. With Dax Hollyfield, he got his nose cut open again, and the other week he's like, I need to get pictures with it with the blood. He's kind of a goofy guy. We ask you about talented guys, but where does he rank up in sort of the unique personalities, and what are some of the other guys that are have been different kind of football players, because he's kind of unique, right?
He is a unique guy, just from a standpoint, because what you see is what you get with Dax. I mean, his energy, I don't know if the guy ever has a bad day or a bad moment, and I told him now that he's got this cut on his nose, and he ended up getting 5 stitches, I think. And I told him, you finally look like a big-time linebacker right now, you know, and the guy that's getting blood coming down his face and all that stuff. And he kind of eats up that stuff a little bit, you know, just knowing him. But, you know, like so many guys like this guy that just walked in, they're all very similar. Dax is a little bit more outgoing than this guy here, but they're the same way as far as their demeanor when it comes to their approach to this football team, and they are contagious in how they rub off on their teammates and how they work, and you know, and that's what's pretty cool about him. That's what makes him unique, because what you see is what you get. And like I told you before, that's how he is getting ready to go into a chemistry exam. I mean, he's bouncing and jumping around and banging off the walls to get ready to go, and he'll high five you coming out knowing that he aced that thing, you know. So, you know, he's a high energy, unique individual.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to you all.
Any questions for Dalton?
So you are not a Virginia guy, but you've been around enough to know what this means, and now you've been through it. How quickly do you embrace what this rivalry means, and what does it mean to you?
I embraced it pretty quickly. I mean, you know, my freshman year, as soon as we got to this week, I could tell it felt a little bit different. You know, there's a lot of hate out there for them, and I figured that out pretty quickly. And you know, once I got on the field playing against them, I understood it. So you know, this game definitely means a lot to me and a lot to this team.
They've lost a number of defensive backs on the back end. When you look at them, and I don't know how far you've gotten in that, but have you seen them change as the year went on because of some of the guys that aren't there?
I mean, they still have a really talented defense. I've watched them a little bit. I'm planning on doing a little bit more of that as the week goes on. But, you know, they have talent all over the field, and it doesn't take long to see that. You know, I haven't really gone that in depth yet, but I don't think they've changed a ton, to be honest with you. They're good at what they do. So, you know, we're going to get a game plan together and go execute it.
And last one for me. You guys have sort of switched to, in a sense, a very complementary style of football where you guys are possessing the ball offensively, keeping that defense a little fresher, letting them be more aggressive. How much have you guys talked about time of possession, keeping the football, or has it just worked out that way?
You know, I think a little bit of that started with Hendon Hooker. He's been performing really well, and he just adds a whole new element to our offense. But, you know, we did talk about that a little bit before the Wake game. You know, we noticed that they just want to go as fast as they can and hold on to the ball. And we thought if we could have a longer time of possession than they did, then that would really help us win the game. So it's kind of extended from that point, to this point in the season.
Hey, Dalton, can you describe the Tech locker room before you run out on the field for the Virginia game? I mean, is it loud? Are people cursing Virginia, or is it quiet and focused, or is it change year to year, or can you just put us in the locker room with you and what that's like?
It's definitely pretty intense. I mean, it does vary a little bit from year to year. I mean, it's kind of similar to every other game, though. It just depends on the personality of your team, and we try to treat it the same as any other game. It does feel a little bit different just because it is a rivalry week, but it's pretty similar to any other game. Guys are locked in. Some guys like listening to music and dancing and yelling. Other guys are, sitting in their locker quiet, just focusing on the game.
I don't know if you get greater satisfaction from having the ball in your hands and creating something, but on Saturday you had a moment. You've had a few of these moments during the season where you locked up a guy in the perimeter and Trey Turner was looking at like a 2 or 3 yard gain after a short catch, and it turned into a 17-yard gain because you locked up that dude. Is that almost as satisfying for you to create a situation like that and see it on film after a game and see what you did as it is to do something with the ball in your hands, or is there no substitute for that?
To be honest with you, I take more pride in that than anything. I mean, there's nothing better to me than finishing a block like that, and I would take that over scoring a touchdown any day. I like doing whatever I can to help my team win, and that's one of those things that I've found myself to be pretty good at. So I take a ton of pride in doing that.
James Mitchell has, I think 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns on like 5 carries. So does he brag about being the better running back than you know?
No, we have a lot of chemistry in that room, and no one really brags about any of that stuff or complains about one guy getting more catches than another. So James is just an awesome guy. I mean, he's one of those guys that never really brags about anything. He's so humble, and to be honest, he might be a better running back than I am. I mean, he's got the wheels on him. He's athletic. I mean, he's just an all around awesome dude, great athlete, and a great teammate.
With these rivalry games, coaches especially are kind of on high alert for players not going on social media and talking trash. How much do they talk about that and tell you don't add anything? Or is it the leaders on the team that say let's not do that kind of stuff? What kind of goes into that to make sure you're not adding 2 things?
I mean, the coaches will mention it every once in a while, but it's kind of just one of those unspoken rules that try to save all that stuff until after the game, because at the end of the day, nothing you post on Twitter or Instagram or any of that stuff is going to make a difference in the game. So after the game, after you win, go for it, but it's not the time for that right now.
Who's the best trash talker on the offense on the field?
On the offense, I don't know. To be honest, we don't do a whole lot of trash talking on the offense. I'd say on the team, maybe Oscar Bradburn.
Dalton, you guys are very nearsighted in your approach. I mean, it's the 1-0 thing, and the division was, of course, very cloudy for a very long time, and now it's crystal clear. I mean, you win this, you're in the championship game. How much of a motivator is that? How exciting is that to be on the cusp of that kind of opportunity?
Yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, you would have never guessed at the beginning of the season where we'd be now, and there's a lot of us would have given up a lot to be in the position we are right now, and it came after that Duke game. We just decided to make a change and take it one game at a time, and that's what got us here. UVA is a really good team, and it's going to be a battle for the Coastal, but we're not even looking that far ahead to the Coastal. Or to the ACC Championship. We're just looking at taking care of UVA this week.
All right. Thanks, Dalton.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. All right. Catch you
So now we have high expectations.
Yeah.
Questions for Oscar?
What are your thoughts on Virginia, the rivalry game? What does it mean to you personally, and what does it mean to this program?
I've always loved Virginia week just because, well, usually we don't have school. Usually we get a little bit of a break. It's nice to just have football and just have one thing to worry about. It's also cool because it's around Thanksgiving, and the game I feel like is always more exciting when there's more at hand. So I love this week. Yeah.
You are obviously not from Virginia originally.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, you came
Yeah.
from a little further. How long does it take you to get it, to like understand like this game means more, and to start to feel that?
It's almost instant. When I got here, I became pretty close friends with Kyle Chung, a couple of those guys, those older guys, and straight away they kind of set the tone and let you know that this game means more and that, we're not going to lose this. Yeah.
Dalton said you're the best trash talker on the team. So are you trash talking just when you're on the field, or are you giving it to players on the sidelines? What's your approach there?
I think it's just like an everyday thing, you know what I mean? He probably hears it the most though because he's my roommate. But no, I've always been a pretty consistent trash talker wherever I go. So
Is it different attitudes with back where you're from with trash talk? Because I mean, you kind of stepped into it a little bit in the summer, and now you guys trying to avoid that. But is it different where you could hear than where you're from?
well, usually I use it as like a way to get closer with people, especially on my own team. But yeah, it's just a part of my life, I guess.
So do you want to say anything now to Virginia?
No, not at all. Otherwise, he'd have a heart attack. Yeah.
He's sweating.
Yeah, I know.
Chung was like a sneaky good trash talker. Do you
Oh, yeah.
learn it from him? I mean, he still
Oh,
kind of does it right now.
All those older guys are. Yeah, they all are. Yeah, Chung's got a little bit of lip to him, but he's not only like a good trash talker. He does things that are kind of like that as well. You'll notice it on film. But anyway, yeah.
I know you were excited about the Ray guy. I don't know if you saw the finalists. You weren't one
Yeah.
of the three finalists there. Disappointed not to be in the running at the end there. Happy to be a semifinalist before that.
Oh, I mean, I think you're always striving to be the best at what you do. So, of course, it's a little bit disappointing, but I kind of understand it as well. I saw all this stuff about me being robbed. I don't think I was robbed. I think at the end of the day, I'm just trying to think about how I can explain this best. I think my net yardage was probably what hurt me the most, and that part of that is from having silly touchbacks and silly returns, and so I think part of that is the reason why I didn't get put in the finalist category with the top three.
Oscar, Bud was in here earlier, and he said the opportunity to win the Coastal Division even supersedes the rivalry aspect of this game. I mean, just a chance to punch your ticket to Charlotte. How much are you embracing that opportunity? How much are the guys embracing that opportunity? Because we know until you get to a point where it's one win and you can go 1-0, you can get there. You're probably not supposed to talk about it too much, right?
Yeah, but I think we're in a special situation this year because I think unlike last year, well, there was this kind of situation last year to a degree because we had the streaks to look after. But I think this year it's really cool because we've got just all these different goals on the way, and each game is really important. And sometimes teams find that towards the back end of the year, kind of I don't want to use these guys. There's a lot of teams, but say Georgia Tech, they're 2-6 or whatever it was. Some of those games carry less meaning if you want. But I think it's really cool that with each game that we play from here on out, it's going to mean something, and it's going to hopefully open more doors for us as a team.
What was your rivalry as a kid? What was your team and what was their rival?
Yeah, so in the AFL back home, which is what I used to play, Australian Football League, I used to barrack for the Sydney Swans. And when I was about 12, 13, they brought in another team called the Greater Western Sydney Giants. And so that was our rivalry going. So from there on, that was our rivalry. And we used to play little junior development games against their academies and stuff like that. Yeah.
You were the Swans?
Yeah, I was with the Sydney Swans.
So you had to be real tough to make that mascot work?
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough. Especially when you're going up against teams like the Giants and the Demons and stuff like that, and you're a Swan. Yeah.
What were your colors?
Red and white. Yeah. Nah, it was cool.
I don't know if punters have highlights, personal highlights they think about during the season. I don't know if there's something that like a punt or a play or something that after a punt when you make a block or something that stands out. One that comes to mind maybe just this past weekend where you didn't necessarily have the longest distance, the greatest, maybe good hang time, but where you had the penalty called, negated the first punt that got down at the 3, and then you come right back and punt one at the 4.5 yard line. The second one. I don't know if that stands out, or is there something that stands out in your head other than that?
That was definitely cool. I think I always have like one each year that I think was really cool. I think at the beginning of the ODU game last year, I had one that was like it took a really good bounce at like the 1 yard line and took off. But this year, I think the coolest one. Let me think back just one sec. North Carolina. I think it was first punt North Carolina. I remember they brought block. It bounced at, I think it was like the 4 yard line, and we had, I want to say it was Armani, Chapman, and Khalil Ladler running after it, and Armani like dove and flicked it back into Khalil. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, because it wasn't just me doing something there. It was like the whole unit coming together to make a play. I thought that was really cool.
All right. Thanks, Oscar.
Thanks, guys.
Was Pittsburgh more aggressive trying to block?
What's up?
All right. Questions for Dax?
So you had the big pad of gauze on,
Yep.
and Coach Foster said you got 5 stitches. What do stitches on the nose feel like? Is that fun?
I don't really feel it because they give me a shot and they cover my face up with like paper, so I don't even know who gave me the stitches because I just couldn't see. But I was so much adrenaline running through my veins after that game. It was cold. I really didn't feel anything. I was just numb. So
When did you cut it open on Saturday?
like first, second quarter, I can't remember. I just remember it was a one run play. Nice shot in there. I remember it on film. I shot in there and just busted. And I felt it. And I was like, third time, it'll be all right though. It'll be good.
How quickly do you kind of learn the importance of this rivalry? And are there guys that kind of teach it to you, or is it not till you play in one of the games that you get it?
Well, I think it's more until you play in the game the week of, and you see all the guys coming back, and just how big it is in this state, to be honest with you. It's a funny story. One time, I think I was getting recruited. It was like my senior year of high school. Virginia came in to recruit me, and I don't remember who it was, but like the linebacker, I think it was the linebacker coach, he came in. I was wearing like a Virginia Tech shirt or something like that in recruitment. He was like, "Yep, I know we're out, but I just wanted to come put my name in." But yeah, I really didn't realize how big of a rivalry it was until like last year game week, and it's pretty big. Bragging rights is a lot, especially for us. It's big time. I mean, this school, this game's really important for this school and just this program, and also just for bigger things like obviously who wins this gets to go on and get a shot at the whole thing. So that's a big goal.
I'm curious, does the fact that it's for the division title, does that add to it, or is it like the rivalry part's distracting now?
It adds to it, makes it bigger. I mean, it makes this game just a little bit bigger. I mean, it's already big, but it makes it just a little bit bigger. And that's the fun part about it is the November football. This is what you dream about. This is what you dream when you're a little kid playing. These are the games that you remember the most. Like, we beat a rival to go to Charlotte to play Clemson. I mean, we got focused on Virginia right now, but that's the high stakes that you want and you dream about when you're a little kid.
Dax, I don't think it's a secret that you're a player that UVA fans probably dislike.
Yeah, they don't like me.
Is that just sort of numb to it at this point? Do you tune it out on Twitter? Do you kind of revel in that?
I deleted Twitter. Yeah, Twitter's not my friend right now. Especially, I mean, from Hokie Nation, they're great, but like everybody else, I don't like them. So I deleted Twitter about 2 months ago. Y'all haven't seen me on there for a while, but they don't like me at all. I don't know why they don't. I think I told somebody to get off the field, but I think it was Brice Perkins that told me to get off the field. I just wanted to do what Luther Matty did and just tell him to get off the field. I didn't know his ankle was hurt or nothing like that. I was just trying to do what my boy Luther did. So they don't like me for that, but it's all right. I'm just here to play football. So
Dax, I would imagine right before you run out on the field for any game is almost a religious experience for you. It's
it's
just
fun.
The intensity and the adrenaline you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But for the Virginia game, can you put me in your body there and what that's like just right before you head out there?
Man, it's gonna be pumping. Like it's a bit. My emotions gonna be up there. Like I'm sort of cool right before I go out, and it's like, all right, press a button, everything unleashes. Like when I'm Inner Sandman, when I'm walking down the tunnel, I'm cool. I'm right beside Coach Hilgard every time, just cool. I give him a fist bump, and next thing you know, we run out. I'm like, I tap the stone, everything just goes off. I'm like, so that's how it really goes for me. And then I go jump into the Corps Cadets. Yeah, basically. That's how it goes.
Thank you, Dax.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
And then since you've taken over, this team has done a really good job with time of possession. How much is that something you guys talk about and focus on, or is it just a byproduct of the things you're doing that you happen to have the football more?
Yeah, I think it's more of a byproduct of what we're doing. We just try to get first downs, and the more you get first downs, that's how you score the ball. So that's what we try to do.
For you in your development with the passing game, how comforting or important is it to do well on first down so that third down isn't 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, it's more 3rd and manageable?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, going into the game, you never want to be behind the sticks. So that first play is always crucial to open up a drive or to open up the game.
Have you had any interactions with Brice other than playing them last year? I mean, did you know Perkins at all?
No, I didn't.
And have you seen much of his game? What do you admire about him as a quarterback?
He's a big time playmaker. He knows how to he knows how to maneuver in the pocket and extend plays, which is always a great virtue as a quarterback.
Anybody else for Hendon?
Is there anything about his game that you wish you had?
I haven't really studied his game that much. I see him on TV or I see a highlight on YouTube or.
The defense, I mean, obviously the defense has played better since you've been in there too. How much do the defensive players talk to you? How much do they bond with you? How much do they tell you, give you props and all those things when you do well? I mean, how is the relationship with you and I guess the other side of the ball is my question.
Our relationship is really strong. They give me all the confidence in the world to go out and just play my game. They always tell me, we're behind you, Hen. Just take care of the ball and we got you. So that's really a confidence booster for me. And, I live with a linebacker, so Alan Tisdale. And so I'm around defensive players all the time, so they show a lot of love.
I'm curious, Virginia's lost a number of defensive backs to injuries, including Bryce Hall, who's obviously a very good player. When you look at them, if you have looked at them much, have they changed what they're doing on the back end, or are they just plugging guys in and running kind of the same concepts?
Yeah, they've been moving guys around some. So different personnels and different packages they bring in. They have different guys in different places than their original position. So just be on the lookout for that. But other than that, they're running their same base schemes, giving us that 2-high look, 3-man front, and blitzing us.
And obviously not something you control, but the fact that Bryce Hall's injured as a competitor, were you looking forward going into the year of kind of going against him, or with your situation not knowing, and what were your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's always a competitor's attitude to play against the best players. So it was kind of like a disappointment to see him go down. And, my condolences to him. Hope he gets better. Speedy recovery to him. But, yeah, it's always a disappointment to see a good guy go down.
One more, Norm.
Sort of the nature of your game, running so much of these RPOs, the fact that you're going to run the ball and you're going to get hit. Are these starting? You took a few particularly big ones. It seemed like one under the rib, maybe a couple under the rib against Pitt. Are they starting to accumulate a little bit now, all those hits, and is it just sort of something unavoidable at this point because that's, again, such a part of your game? You're going to have to take some of those hits sometimes, or is there a way for you to avoid them?
I mean, I try my best to avoid them, try to make a guy miss, but they're inevitable, so it's going to happen game in, game out. Just try to get up and play the next play. Don't really try to look at how I'm getting hit or how many times I'm getting hit. Just playing the game.
Are they starting to add up a little bit?
Not really. I mean, it's the same pain after every game if you're getting hit or not. So,
All right. Thanks, Hendon.
no problem.
All right. 5-time ACC linebacker of the week, Rashard Ashby.
Is it getting old, or is it still cool every time you win that?
I appreciate it every time. Yeah, I really do. Think kind of more so is I think it's more so like a award from my teammates and how well we've been playing together and the coaching staff. But I appreciate the award every time.
I asked you a bunch of questions in the preseason and wrote about you and Dax being kind of different personalities and how you play together. As this year has gone, how has your chemistry improved, your dynamic changed, and how well do you think you guys particularly are playing right now in the middle of that defense?
Like I said, it just grew more because, just more you out there with him, the more you know what you can do in certain situations and what he's going to do, and you just learn each other and things like that. But it's good, not just with him, but with all the linebackers. I think I said before, like, they pretty much kind of get us in with a lot of everybody, so we all get used to each other. So, like, if him and Tisdale are in, I think they have great connection, great communication. If I'm with Tisdale or I'm with Dax, we all have great communication together, and we all pretty much know each other and what to expect.
I asked Dalton who the best trash talker was on the offense. He couldn't come up with one. He said Bradburn's really good. But for the defense, who's the guy that's out there that's in a rivalry game that's just going to be talking and doing it well?
That's pretty much, other than a few people, most all defense is gonna be talking. So that's, I don't really know. I just try to make sure guys I don't care if you talk. I just don't want no flag. That's all I care about. I just want to get to the next play and keep playing. But yeah, we got a lot of guys that talk trash. So
Anybody louder than the others? I mean, anybody that stands
I
out?
definitely hear Emmanuel, Reggie. Let's see. I hear Caleb sometimes, but definitely Emmanuel and Reggie.
You ever get jealous when you see Dax have the blood flowing down his nose, or you glad it doesn't happen to you?
Yeah, I'm just happy it never happens to me. And I tell him every time you need to get it fixed, and he's like, "Oh no, I don't want to." Things like that. He's hilarious, but yeah, I'm just happy it doesn't happen to me.
How tough is it to get a handle on Perkins and kind of his mobility in the pocket?
A lot. He's very athletic, a very good quarterback. Is a great playmaker. Brings a lot of juice to that team, and like all the decision making, I think is pretty much gonna go through him. So we definitely gonna try to contain him. Have to contain him and make it hard for him to step up and not create running lanes for him to have.
I'm assuming you wouldn't trade your quarterback for theirs.
No.
I mean, we know what he's done for the offense since he's been in there. What has he done for the defense? Just his presence in there. What impact do you think that's had? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a coincidence that he's in there and you guys are playing much better on that side of the ball too.
I don't think it's more so. I think more so what he's done is not really just for the defense, but the whole team. Is just his leadership skills, the way he steps up and tries to lead this team, the energy he brings, and things like that. Just bringing people up to words of encouragement before the game, and just his confidence in himself and this team just helps the whole team out. So his leadership skills definitely.
I've heard, and I think we've read about how you've had sort of this different aptitude and ability to see the game since you were like 8 years old playing youth ball, and people were at least talking about it back then. I know it's probably hard to go back and think that far back, as and things were different and simpler when you were playing ball then. But was there something that you felt like you latched onto in this game quicker than anybody else that made things easier for you to either read things or see things or this just kind of process things better than anybody else?
I think it was just the way I could like process things on the move since I was younger, like playing in the game. Just like if the running back was going this way and I seen a blocker coming, I feel like when I was younger I knew he'd have to cut back in, things like that. Other than that, that was kind of it. I just playing the game, everything just clicked fast to me when I was playing football and younger, and it's still doing that. And I'm just trying to continue to do that and try to make plays for this defense, try to win.
Do you feel like you need to do that just because you're not?
You get a read on what the opponents do, and you can kind of figure out if they would do this here or they would do that. So it definitely helps in the game for me to see stuff on the move and figure out what they're going to do.
Justin and Bud said Braxton's kind of the scout team quarterback, and you guys do some scramble drills. How much does that help you guys preparing for a mobile quarterback? Is it kind of the same thing, or is it difficult to kind of simulate what Brice actually does?
It's always going to be difficult to simulate what a mobile quarterback does and just how that mobile quarterback plays and when he runs. But Braxton is probably as good as a mobile quarterback. Like we have to tell him to stay in the pocket for when weak guys who don't scramble like that, because he's fast, he's quick, he can outrun a lot of us. So it's like he will definitely help us this week. He's probably eager right now, waiting for practice for us to get out there so he can run, because we've been kind of holding him back for a while now. So
Thanks, Roy.
no problem. Thank you.
You know I do. Let me know when I'm ready to go. All right. Well, thank you for having us. Obviously, I'm always excited to be here, especially because if I'm standing behind this podium at this time of the year, that means we've done something pretty spectacular. And we have, at this point, our win last night against UNH, I thought was a very good result. You always like to advance in the NCAA tournament against a very good team. I thought we had an extremely difficult second-round game, and we survived that. And now we must look on to Stanford, one of the top teams in the country and a perennial powerhouse.
In terms of what you were expecting from your team this year and what you've gotten at this point, is this kind of what you pictured in terms of not just style of play, but who's filling what roles, who's where?
Yeah, so where we're at, I was planning on that. How we got here, absolutely not. We've had a lot of things within the group, particularly with injuries, things that I couldn't see coming. And so we've had other guys that have had to step up, and it's been unbelievable. So we got to our end result, but it was not the way that I pictured it. And let me give you an example on that. Like Nico Kwashi, he played in our first weekend, got hurt, hasn't been back since. That's our second leading goal scorer. I pegged him in as a 7 to 10 goal guy this year. He's played, I don't know, maybe not even 100 minutes. So, we've had some other guys, John Ingeson, Danny Pereira, some other guys step up and fill the void, and it's helped us get to this spot where we're at.
When you have those bumps in the road, for lack of a better term, in terms of the mood and the mindset of the guys, were there moments where they were discouraged that they were going through all that, or were they pretty steady? And were you discouraged that you didn't have exactly what you thought on the pitch and get discouraged?
Yeah, I was discouraged because I thought there was another level. I thought had all of our guys been healthy throughout the year, we could have been a higher seed. I really do. And so I probably felt more frustration than the other guys. But again, we have an awesome group of guys that we've had for a couple of years, and it has continued. Our culture is awesome. And so they don't miss a beat. The next guy hops in, and they have gotten the job done. And again, it showed itself a couple times during the year where we've dropped to games that have been extremely frustrated, and I thought that we could have avoided that had we had all the horses in the stable, but again, I'm very happy with where we're at right now.
I saw you guys last night. Your first 2 goals came off of set pieces. How big has that been for you throughout the season? And how much do you guys practice on that, kind of rely on that?
Yeah, rely on it. It's not what we had relied on, but we just have the right talent. Again, when you have guys like John Ingeson and Danny Pereira who can put the ball wherever they want, that helps for any kind of set piece. And then, Christo Strickler, we have a lot of grinders, guys that are going to get in there and mix it up. Christo Strickler, Sievert, Will Mejia, all those guys. So when you have that kind of fighter's mentality, it helps on that as well.
Can you just talk about James Kasich and what you've seen out of him in terms of his growth? I mean, from when you guys were kind of recruiting him from Riverheads and how he's kind of grown.
Yeah, he's come a long way. We recruited him as a forward, with primarily out of his club team, not with not the high school, even though we went to go watch a high school championship game. But he was going to be a forward for us, and he had struggled. His first couple of years, he just wasn't getting into the rhythm, and then we changed up our system and played him as a left back, and since then he's been dynamite. And I thought there are times when he shows he's one of the better left backs in the country, and so it's really an awesome story, particularly about him.
Coach, can you speak to Pereira coming in here as a freshman? And I think most people knew he was pretty highly skilled coming in, but has he maybe even surpassed your expectations for him as a freshman?
Oh, for certain. Again, we knew that he was good when I recruited him. When we recruited him, I didn't know how high the ceiling would be. And he's been unbelievable. He's probably one of the top 3 or 4 players in my 15 years here that I've been able to coach, which is a pretty good list of guys. There's not a ton that he can't do. I mean, there's still room for improvement, but for his first year, it's really spectacular. And I think even probably what you've seen in the latter part of the season, as he continues to go, his confidence grows and his ability and what he does for us on the field, he continues to have more and more of an impact. And I don't see that changing in the near future.
Any more questions for Beth? With last year losing to JMU, does that loss kind of still resonate with your guys' motivation? And just the opportunity to play Stanford now, how does that kind of add to it?
I don't think that they reflect on that. We're very much we have a single focus, and that we just want to win in advance. I'm not thinking about the past or the future. It's Stanford and what they bring and how we're going to defeat them. Obviously, the vibe is good, so that's the other piece. That was a long time ago, and we're coming off a good win. And so I think the guys are excited. I'm not really excited to go all the way across the country, but I think that they have some excitement in that. It's good to be young, Your body adapts. You can deal with that. When you get old, traveling across the country is no fun.